Charlene's team leader, tree management at Wingecarribee Shire Council. Charlene's a level 5 qualified arborist with extensive experience in local government. She has most recently worked on the Street Tree Master Plan and the Urban Tree Policy initiative, will significantly influence how the council manages and maintains its urban canopy. Currently, Charlene is leading a project to collect street tree data throughout the local government area using a program called Tree Plotter. This program enables the mapping, collection and integration of data to show where trees are located and to identify available planting locations. It also supports management practices aimed at improving the care and sustainability of the urban forest. Charlene will cover council requirements and procedures and preferred methods of disposal, have a flow chart to show you, and recent experiences of dying trees in the Shire. Thanks, Charlene.
Thank you, Karen. Sorry, you can all see me. I mentioned that I was doing this speech today to some colleagues, and they said, well, why as a society do we have hedges? I thought, well, I might start with that and then lead on to fun, boring stuff of the council. So cypress specifically was the main reason of the Phytophthora Dieback throughout the Shire. It's a fast-growing conical tree with attractive green foliage. The Leylandii cypress group is ideal for windbreaks, screens, and beautiful as a trimmed hedge. They're extremely hardy and do well in harsh conditions, but there's several theories for the increased popularity for the Leylandii. One is that it suits the more formal gardens that were fashionable in the 1990s, but even earlier, to the Victorian era. They grow to 7 to 8 metres tall by 3 to 4 metres wide in less than 10 years. However, they are considered as an antisocial hedge, which can increase shade, resulting in frost and black ice patches around our roadsides and many of our neighbourhoods. It increases wind turbulence with a reduction in biodiversity and is also a key threatening process for our endangered ecological communities. So this is going into if your process for removal is choosing to burn, this is the legislation in which controls your burning process. But I'll go into the burning part later. Just wanted to touch base on it now. So we have the Local Land Services Act. If you're considered rural land, this is the legislation in which governs the removal of trees on your land, with the EPNA Act and the SEP for Biodiversity and Conservation. That is what covers non-rural land, so all our urban areas, and the council EP, of course. Maintenance pruning versus heavy pruning. So I was also asked to clarify what is considered maintenance versus what is considered a heavy prune. So council identifies that maintenance pruning is considered to be less than 10% of the overall canopy of the hedge or the tree that you are pruning. This can be conducted without council consent. So 10% is usually considered as using a hedge trimmer or deadwooding a tree. Heavy pruning, on the other hand, is anything greater than 10%, and you will require some form of consent before you do that. So the process for hedge and tree removal we have here is that if you have a tree or hedge that's less than 6 metres, we'd like you just to have a chat with your neighbour. Council does not require you to come to it for consent for anything that's less than 6 metres. Council's LEP determines that a tree above 6 metres is considered a tree. Anything less than 6 metres is not considered a tree. So a tree or hedge that's greater than 6 metres, if you are on a rural land zone, we'd like you to go and talk with the local land services. They are here today. They're actually here at the front door to your left, the table out the front there. Ask them questions if you know you are on rural land. If you're not sure, you're welcome to contact council and we'll let you know what land type you are residing on. If you have non-rural land and your hedge is less than 35% damaged and you wish to remove it, you'll need to apply for a veg clearing permit, which is also known as a VCP for council. So non-rural land with a hedge that has been affected by greater than 35%, so we don't like missing teeth in our hedges, we all understand that. So if more than 35% is affected, you're welcome to come to council with a tree exemption request. Tree exemption requests do not require any fees or charges, so it's a free permit and council will send it out within 5 days. Where a veg clearing permit, on the other hand, requires you to come to council with usually a level 5 arborist has assessed your hedge and needing a reasonable removed. And you'll see that the legislation that governs each of those options that you have there. So engaging an arborist. Before you employ that cheap tree lopper or donor seeking to chop down or chop your trees, consider the following. Do you have council approval? Do you need council approval? Start there. Are they appropriately insured? Have you done your checks and balances with that contractor? Do they have qualifications? The minimum qualification we recommend is a level 3 certificate for tree removal. If they do not have a level 3, then they potentially may not be insured either. And get some quotes. You know, the golden rule for council is 3 quotes before you do anything, and I highly recommend getting more than 1 quote for doing your works. So the methods of disposal. Always consider your hygiene. As Brett mentioned earlier, with hygiene, we don't have the spread. However, without hygiene, we have a high spread. We need to reduce that spread now. So we're recommending that the tree be cut to a 1 metre high stump. You can either block the rest of the tree up for timber and firewood. If it's a cypress tree, you probably don't want to do that. You can chuck it through the chipper. No issue with that. So mulch the top portion of the tree. You can use that mulch on your land, preferably in the same garden in which it's come from. Try not to spread it around your property, depending on the size of your property. Or if you're a lucky property owner and you're on a certain size land and you've got your RFS permits, etc., you're welcome to burn the top of the tree. However, we would recommend that you leave the tree as a habitat stag. I know pine trees aren't always the best. However, as Professor Brett has mentioned, that not all cypress trees are the only ones that are affected by this root rot. So if it's a eucalypt or if it's a banksia, etc., try and leave the tree as a habitat stag. There's no issue with leaving that. The pathogen, as mentioned previously, is not going anywhere, so no harm done. Or you can leave the stump to decay naturally. So if you choose to remove the tree, we highly recommend leaving the stump behind, because stump grinding or pulling the stump out of the ground will further spread that pathogen around. Again, you're just spreading it. There's no need to. And recent council experiences. So we had an interesting one in Ravinia Drive in East Bowral. The whole street just died. Randomly. Completely random. And we thought, what's going on? And we did some testing. We sent the test off through a soil company, and the test came back positive for Phytophthora. Unfortunately, council has had to remove the trees, and we're in a process of, in the next few weeks, we'll be replacing those trees with a species that is root rot resistant. We've also had a cypress hedge in East Bowral. Similar thing, it started dying at a certain point and just spread slowly over a few years. We have now also removed this hedge, and we have attempted to replace it. The replacements were not so well taken to the frost, and unfortunately we also had some hooligans, shall we call them, have some fun with the trees as well. So at this stage, that is just a grass paddock now, which is okay, because the more I send in our teams to replace those, the more likely we're going to be spreading that pathogen. So at the moment, we're just leaving that to settle. And our favourite is Cherry Tree Walk, which is the Vietnam Veterans Walk down in Bowral. We are actually planting there right now, today. Super exciting. Council started this project about 6 years ago, where we sent down our branches from our trees down to a nursery in Victoria, and they've actually grafted our branches onto a root rot resistant rootstock, which is called F12. Very fancy. And we received our first 4 trees last year as bare rootstock, and this year we've received another 30 trees. So thankfully we were able to find a solution. However, that has taken 6 years to come to fruition. So if you're going out and about, go down to Cherry Tree Walk and have a look. And I think that's it for council. Yeah. Come and see me afterwards. Thank you.